Sweet Homeschool. If you're new here, my name is Ashley and I'm a homeschooling mom to one. And in today's video, I'm going to give you my honest thoughts on Gather Around Homeschool's Dinosaur unit. So first, we're just going to do like a little introduction to Gather Around Homeschool, because if this is your first time watching one of my videos about Gather Around Homeschool, you may be like, what in the world is that? So Gather Around Homeschool is a unit study-based approach to teaching your family. And when I say that, I mean you can actually teach your entire family. So they're unit studies that combine all of your subjects except for math, and they are designed to teach your youngest all the way up to your high schooler. The whole thing is to gather your family around and learn together. Now, Dinosaurs is a year 3 unit. And all that means is when you go to shop on the Gather Around website, or if you hear someone talking about year 1, year 2, year 3, that really just denotes what year that it was created in. You can do these units in any order that you like, in any way that you like. Now, this unit was set up to be done 4 days a week for 5 weeks or 5 days a week for 4 weeks. But if you talk to almost anybody that uses Gather Around, they all use it in a way that works for their family. Some units we have spread across 10 weeks. We've done 2 units at a time, and some we get done in 4 to 5 weeks. But it really just depends on what is working best for our family at the time. So that's what it is. So if you go shop and you're looking for Dinosaurs, you'll want to hit shop year 3 and then click on Dinosaurs. You can purchase the hard copy, which is what I have here, or you could purchase digital, whatever works best for your family. We have done both. We've done digital and hard copy, and they both are great. So whatever works for you. Now, that's just kind of a rundown. I have my notes down here because I didn't want to get mixed up on what I was trying to say about it. So like I said, it's a year 3 unit. This was written by Rebecca herself, who's the creator of Gather Around. And I just have to say, these year 3 units, and we've done a bunch. We've done a ton of year 1 and year 2. But the way these year 3 units are written, they're, oh my goodness, they're so well written. And if you're looking to try this for the first time, I would definitely try one of the year 3s, because I've just been blown away at how good they are. So that's that. If you have any general questions about Gather Around Homeschool, leave them in the comments. I'll be glad to help you answer any questions you have about it. Just let me know. All right, so one of the things I wanted to talk about really quick, and it's an option when you purchase this, is they have a new thing for year 3 called a Seatwork Journal. Now, I wasn't going to do it at first because we kind of just did our own thing for spelling and stuff like that. But when we got the new psychology unit, which I have a flip through if you want to check that out, they have a Seatwork Journal. And so I thought, you know what, I'm just going to try it, because I like to try all their products just to see, you know, if we like them. So I downloaded the psychology one, I printed it out, and it looked absolutely wonderful. And I'm like, you know what? Even though we're already so far into Dinosaurs, I think I want to give it a try. Well, I didn't even look at the samples. And there's something I want to point out to you if you're like me and you just kind of like in a mad rush to use it, you go buy it before you notice this. So in the Psychology Seatwork Journal, you're going to find some grammar. There's grammar every day for those people that want their kids to have grammar every day. So I just assumed, and I know we're not supposed to assume, that the Dinosaur Seatwork Journal had grammar every day. It does not. So if you're looking to purchase the Seatwork Journal hoping that you're going to get the grammar every day, it is not in the Dinosaur one. Now, that's not to say that it isn't good. We started using the Seatwork Journal starting at lesson 13, so kind of when we were already into the unit. But I did like it. I think it has some great value to it, and it really keeps you... These are not in any order. I'm so sorry. I'm just going to show you what it looks like. I'll show you a couple of pages of what it looks like. So in the Seatwork Journal for Dinosaurs, you are going to find your copy work. So if you're one of those families like me that sometimes forgets to do the copy work, or you get done with the entire lesson and you haven't done spelling, this is a great way to remember to do that. So you do have your copy work. You also have a place for spelling. Now, this is the middle school, and this one he has to write 4 sentences using all of his spelling words. And that does look different. If you want to see in some of the other levels, they have samples on the Gather Around website where you can check that out. And then on the back, you have vocabulary, and I just get him to write it over here as we encounter that word in the teacher's guide, we write the vocabulary, and then there's a place for growing your character and current events. So they're really neat. So this one's a little different. So his spelling's a little different here, but it's his copywork, his vocabulary. So if you're just looking for somewhere to have your copywork, your child's spelling, all that kind of stuff built in already for you, and it takes the guesswork out of the Seatwork pages for you, then definitely look into that Seatwork Journal. You can choose cursive or manuscript, either one. So check that out. We liked it, and I think it's going to be even better with the psychology unit because it does include that grammar every day, which is not in that one. All right, let's move on, shall we? So what do we like about this dinosaur unit? Well, we love dinosaurs if you've been around for any length of time, but we have always loved dinosaurs. We love all the Jurassic Park, Jurassic World movies. We're all into that. Now, we don't sit around and debate dinosaurs. I know that's a very controversial issue for some people. We don't do that, but we just love dinosaurs, and we have learned an awful lot about dinosaurs by doing this unit. Now, I do want to say that in the very first lesson, she does have a little note. She has a little note that it says, I know this is controversial, but I'm doing my best to be impartial, to give information so that you can make your own decisions on what you think about dinosaurs. And she did a great job of that. Every lesson, she offered up all the information that she could. I felt very informed. By the time we were finished with this, we learned so much. She talks about worldview. She talks about all the different theories. She doesn't say if one's right or one's wrong. It's very impartial. So if you're worried about that, you don't have to worry about it. If you want to see a flip through of this, I'll link it down below so you can kind of see what the table of contents has and you can kind of see what this looks like. One of the things we love about these year 3 units are the family devotional prompts. So we do like to start with that. It just gives you a little something to think about, and it connects beautifully with the lesson. That's what I love about it, that it's not so off topic. It really connects beautiful with the lesson. And my son, he'll say, it's like they just knew what I needed to hear today. And I love that about it. So we do love the devotions that are included at the beginning of every lesson. Now, if you don't want to do that, skip it. You don't have to do that. All right, the next thing I want to talk about are the optional activities. So if you have a hard time with planning, and I know a lot of people struggle with planning. I was a public school teacher for 13 years. I'm used to planning, but I do understand when people have trouble coming up with ideas for things. So this makes it really easy for you. So you'll find things like extension activities if you want to take that lesson a little further. And then you'll find optional activities. They're at the end of almost every lesson. Not every lesson, but almost every lesson. And you're going to find things, and I made a list of some of them. Doing a puzzle, make your own dinosaur egg, use Legos to make a creature, make a marionette, a hadrosaur mouth, a dinosaur tooth. There's a listening game you can play, dinosaur footprints, dinosaur mask. You can study a bone. You can use pasta noodles to make dinosaurs. Those are all the things that are optional inside of this unit. Now, my son's a middle schooler, so of course he didn't want to do all of those things. But we did do a really neat bone study. And I also picked up, we like kinetic sand around here. And they have these really neat, they come in like a little, I guess it was like a little barrel, a crate, something. They were at our Walmart. It's a dinosaur one, and in each one you get a little tool, and you find little pieces of dinosaur skeletons, and you have to put them together. So they're not super scientific, but they're fun. So I'll try to link them. That's something that we did use, and it was a lot of fun. But there are a ton of activities, and this is where I want to say, if you need some help, if you need this to just be open and go and easy for you, if you have not utilized their app yet, go do it now. You can find the Gather Round Homeschool app for Apple and Android in their app store, and you can also use it on a desktop if you don't want to do it on your phone or other device. But guys, that app is tons of information. You can join communities, and if you want to join the dinosaur community or any of the other communities, You just go to join community, you find the year or the unit that you want, and then there's going to be a feature to chat, meaning that you can talk to other families who are doing this same unit or have already done the unit. They share so many ideas right there in that chat. But then there's also a thing called resources. And when you click on that, you're going to find so much information. Another way to get there, and I show this in the download, there is a QR code. And if you scan that QR code, it's going to take you to those resources for that unit. And you're going to find the teacher planning pages, you're going to find the book list, the scope and sequence, and then you're going to find resources for every lesson. They have it broken down by week and then by lesson. And you're going to find videos and crafts and activities and websites right at your fingertips. So if you are not utilizing the app yet, you definitely need to check it out because it really helped me. I could just make a note in my lesson plans. There was a video I wanted to watch on the app. I could have the app pulled up. I could click the video and we were ready to go. So it definitely helped in the planning of this unit. So check it out. Utilize that app. Now, one thing I do want to say, so we're using the middle school level. I do not know what the focus was for language arts for the other levels. You can find those things. There's like sample pages on the website. But for middle school, if you're interested in the middle school notebook, the main focus for language arts for this was learning how to write a research paper. You pick a dinosaur and you go through the steps of learning how to write a paper. So if you're looking for grammar, there was only 4 lessons that included grammar. So we covered idioms, the anatomy of a sentence for all you people that love sentence diagramming, complex, simple, and compound, and then we did fragments and run-ons. So that was the only grammar that was covered in here. The rest of the language arts was all about research, how to do safe research, primary and secondary sources. Let me see what else. Citing sources, just how to do research in general. We talked about bias. We talked about how to take notes. We talked about paraphrasing, summarizing, picking a topic. All the things that you need to know to be able to write a research paper was covered through the language arts. So if you're looking for grammar and you're one of these people that no, I'm not saying that in a bad way, like you're one of those people. No, if you just value having grammar every day, then you might want to add something to this because you're not going to find grammar every day. For me, I don't worry so much about it, but if that's something your child needs, then you might want to add that in here because like I said, there's only 4 grammar lessons and the rest is built on research. And so I would have my son's finished project, but he's just not quite done with it yet. He's done all the research and he's just got to get his final thing typed up for us. But that is that's like the big project, and that's what you'll do for language arts. There is apologetics in here if you want to teach apologetics. Now, it's not in every lesson in the teacher's guide. It's just here and there it's mentioned, but there is a sheet every single day in the middle school notebook for sure that goes over apologetics, and I can just show you one of those real quick if I can get to one. This flipping over the top, I don't know why that confuses me so bad, but it does. So there's an apologetics page and they tend to look the same. They're going to give you the discovery or whatever it is they want you to research more. They tell you how to dig deeper. And then you kind of just answer questions like who, what, when, your question words, and some interesting facts. So if you are into apologetics or that's something you're teaching, then you'll like this because it is in every single lesson. Now you're probably looking at this and thinking, why is none of this filled out? And I'm going to tell you about that in a minute. We'll get to that, okay? All right, let's see. What else did I want to cover? Okay, so as far as this dinosaur unit, it is very history heavy. I know you're thinking, oh, it's probably a science unit. We'll be doing lots of science, but it is very history heavy. We learned about so many people in the world of paleontology and geology and all those neat things people had never heard of before. It was very interesting to learn about all of those people because they all had very interesting paths to get into this. It wasn't just like they woke up and they wanted to start studying dinosaurs. They all were kind of led there in a different way. And so it was interesting to see their stories and see what happened to them. So we learned a ton of history. We also covered things like women's rights, PTSD, state fossils. We talked about Pangea. We talked about dyslexia. So we did a lot of social studies, geography, history things. There is science in here. Don't get me wrong. You can't talk about dinosaurs and not talk about science. So it's very history and science heavy, and it was a great unit. We talked about their diets. We talked about a lot about comparative anatomy, which is very interesting. We talked about molds and cast, taking flight, fossils, forensics, animal tracking, parts of a bone, and cells. And guys, that all linked back to dinosaurs, and it was so interesting. The way that they make these pages connect to dinosaurs or whatever the unit may be is amazing to me. So you get a lot of science and history. Now, another thing that's in here, and if you print it at home, you can print this separate. You can also take this out if you buy print. This is the discovery book. This is something different for this unit. And so this is where the notebooking page was housed, and then a dinosaur, like how to draw a dinosaur kind of page. So let me show you what that looks like. So you would have your typical notebooking page that you see in all the units. And then here it would take one of the dinosaurs that you learned about. And there were some lessons you didn't cover a dinosaur, but if you did, it had this step-by-step drawing for how to draw the dinosaur. Now, my son does not like drawing tutorials. He just won't do it. And I'm like, look, they've given you some instruction. You can draw a dinosaur, you know. And see, I'm a rule follower. And so I would want to do this exactly the right way. And my son is the exact opposite of me. He is going to push those boundaries and he's going to do things his own way. And he didn't want that. And that's okay. So we didn't use them. But if you have a child that wants to learn how to draw dinosaurs and they want to do step-by-step, that is what's in the discovery book. So I do like that that is a part of this. And you could take this out and use it, you know, for your child. So let me show you what we did instead. So we definitely used the teacher's guide. We read the lesson. And we did utilize these sheets. Now, one thing you're going to see around here is we kind of make these units work for us. We are very relaxed and laid back, and we just try to make them work for us. And one of the things, I don't have anything wrong with worksheets. I think there's a time and a place for worksheets. I really do. But some of these, as I was reading through them, I'm like, you know what? This could just be done orally. We live in a state where I don't have to turn anything in. Now, I do keep records and I keep up with attendance, but we don't turn in any work. So filling out worksheets sometimes just kind of seems kind of silly to me. So what I would do is I would look at the worksheet myself and see if it's something that we could do orally. If it was grammar, I would just write it on the whiteboard and we would work it out there. Like instead of doing the whole sheet. I forgot to say we also talked about idioms. I don't know if I mentioned that. I think I did, but I don't know. So if it was grammar, I would try to put it on the whiteboard if it was necessary. As far as the other stuff, if we could just talk about it, that's what we did. A lot of the research stuff, I didn't need him to write on this paper. I just thought, you know what? He could write it on where he's taking notes for his research. So that's what we did. We didn't write on any of these pages. I'm hoping to be able to sell this. Now, some of the workbooks we are using, we're going to use the psychology notebook, but like this one, I want to resell this, and I can because I bought it printed from them, from Gather Round. So we didn't use this. So you're probably like, well, how do you know what he learned? Well, first off, we do tons of things orally, so I can tell through talking to my son what he has learned. And we've had many great conversations with this dinosaur book. But one of the things that I got him to do was something called notebooking, and it is from someone called Jody Mockabee. I first learned about this through Ellen Fisher. So Ellen Fisher has this huge YouTube channel. She's not a homeschooling channel, though she does throw in some homeschooling stuff occasionally. She lives in Hawaii, and like their pace of life and everything's just awesome. You can check her out, and you can also check out her videos. But that's where I learned about Jody Mockabee's notebooking manual. And you can actually go look that up. I'll try to link it below. I'm going to do a video about it if you want to know more about it. But let me show you what we did. Instead of doing the workbook pages, because I know sometimes people are just looking for other ways. They don't want to necessarily use these. I do think these have a great value. And we did flip through and use every page. We talked about everything in here. We just didn't write in it. This is what we did instead. And there's probably going to be a glare because they're laminated. At the end of every lesson, after we covered everything, my son would pick an illustration that related to what we just learned, and he would draw it on white cardstock, just white cardstock. And then I would, after he finished drawing, they can color, they can paint. He likes to watercolor, so he did that sometimes. Sometimes he just colored with color pencils. After they do that, then they narrate to you what they learned. What did they find interesting? What did they learn through that lesson? And then you either type it up for them or you write it down, and then they copy it. So they're learning correct punctuation and spelling and all those good things. And they're wanting to give their best and neatest handwriting. So it's kind of a handwriting exercise too. Now, it was kind of a rough go in the first couple of lessons because he'd never done this before. So if you do start it, don't expect it to turn out wonderfully first, like right off. So this was his first one. We didn't do the part where I wrote it first and then he copied it. So his writing was super tiny and his picture was very tiny, but it really illustrated what he learned. He drew what he thought, like what we think as a whole about dinosaurs, and then what actually happened. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And then lesson 2, we went over again what notebooking was supposed to look like. And you guys, he's not going to use how to draw. So he kind of did his own thing. So he did his dinosaur illustration and he wrote what he learned. Now you can expect whatever you want to out of your kids. I was just getting started. So if he just gave me a couple of sentences, I was okay with that. I don't want to make this a bad experience. So we'll just flip through a few more. So this was lesson 3. And this is when we started using the lines and the spacing so that it looked a little neater. This was all about the Bone Wars. That was probably one of our favorite lessons. We learned a lot about that. And here's one about the T-Rex. And so we just used this. This is what we used. And I actually, when we look back on our learning for the year, it's going to be so much more fun to look back on these paintings and drawings than it is to look at a worksheet. Like, I can tell exactly what he learned, and he always draws little speech bubbles with his dinosaurs saying some funny. He's always doing something funny. This is going to be so much more fun to look back on than he offered a lot of information that day than looking at a worksheet. So this is just another option. It's not something you have to do. If the workbook is working fine for you, then you definitely keep that up. I just wanted to try this and try something different and see if it worked, and we loved it. Now, we're not doing this for psychology. It just didn't seem to lend itself to something like this. We're going to use the regular student notebook that comes with it, but we really enjoyed notebooking, and I do plan to use this again in the future when we do some of the other history heavy units. So I know this is going to be a long video. Thanks for holding out with me. I have one more thing to talk about, and that's the books that we used along with it. You honestly don't need any extra references, but if you're looking for some good ones, this one's my absolute favorite. This is Where on Earth Dinosaurs. I just had like a book holder up, and I would turn it to like whatever page we needed, and it would just give us some extra information about dinosaurs. So I'll link this below. And then we also pulled this one out. This is called Dinosaurs, Bone Collection, and Other Prehistoric Animals. And this was helpful. If we couldn't find the dinosaur in that book, then we could usually find it in here. And then as far as read-alouds go, we read The Giver. This is a great book, very thought-provoking. It leaves you asking lots of questions, and it leads to a lot of good discussion. I would say you need to wait till middle school or high school to read this. I don't think this is appropriate for the younger kids. So that's just a note. She has a note about it in there. It is on the book list, but it is recommended for older children. And I would just pre-read the chapter before we read it, just to make sure if there was anything I was going to need to talk about. But we love this, and we're going to watch the movie to go along with it. So that's a great read. And then we read What Was the Age of Dinosaurs, just because we love these books. And so this was a fun book to read and to compare what we're hearing in the unit versus what was in here. And we enjoyed it. So that'll be linked below too. So overall, we love the dinosaur unit. We had been looking forward to it, and it did not disappoint. We had a great time with it. If you have any questions about Gather Round Homeschool or the dinosaur unit or anything homeschool related and you want to know something, ask them in the comments below. Check out my other gather round videos and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And as always, thank you so much for watching.